we're going to look at the impact of layout on logo design. So you may think of your logo as being quite simple and straightforward, but there really is a lot to think about and a lot of different options. So we already kind of looked at font options, color options. There's also tagline options. So these are the things, depending upon the needs of the logo that you're creating, that can really affect what sort of layout you might need for your logo design. So here is my quick breakdown of all the layout options with the pros and cons of each one. If you're thinking about icons only design, company logos, which are just an icon, create a very strong identity and are usually very memorable. However, you do need to be aware of the restrictions. More complex icons can be hard to print on certain materials and might be impossible to embroider, for instance. Generally, icons represent a concept, an action, or an idea. Icons are actually a graphic representation of an operation and convey it to the users. We see icons in applications, and they are vital elements in UI/UX interface. Often, icons are used to depict an action in a responsive website design, for instance, and in that case, icons are useful for navigating through websites. So, for example, a house icon dictates users to the home page. Text-only logo designs will really emphasize your company name, but they can lack interest. So the font choice for text-only logos, as you would expect, really is vital. And having some creative elements, whether it's an unusual name or a twist on this design, can really make a big difference. There's pros and cons about all of these as well. The next one is image incorporated in letters. One way to make your text-only logo look more interesting is to incorporate images in the letters. However, you have to be careful that the letters really are clear. There can be some confusion if the element is not clear what it's representing, as well as the letter within your brand name. Having an icon on the left of your logo. This is by far the most popular layout. An icon on the left means your icon is the first thing to hit the eye of your readers, followed by your text. One thing to mention, though, is that if your company name is relatively long, you might find it harder to fit your logo in certain contexts. For example, equipment or labels or signs, whilst remaining clear. There's also icons on the right. Having your icon on the right-hand side means that your logo/company name is the first thing that hits you rather than the icon, almost like a full stop to your name. There's also icons above. Having your icon above gives you a square or rectangular size logo. These can look very good on letterheads or on websites. That is a harder layout to fit on signage. They're more symmetrical, just like circular are. So circular logos are very popular in particular industries, especially in the food industry, where their shape makes them very well suited for stickers. At the same time, though, fitting a circular logo on a pen, for example, really wouldn't work as well. So some things to think about. Logos with taglines. So the most important thing to consider about your tagline, if you have one, is whether it will be legible at the sizes you will be using it at. As explained in before, the tagline should be about 3 or 4 words to hit the maximum effectiveness and be large enough on your logo to stand out. Here's some examples here. With a Nike logo, just do it. That's their tagline. McDonald's, I'm loving it. That is their tagline. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. LG, life's good. GE, imagination at work. And Target, get more, pay less. Now, they don't necessarily always use the tagline with these type of logos, but something to consider. Sometimes the best thing to do is see a few different layout options of your logo and think about whether it will work for what you need to use it for. And always, always make sure you shrink your logo down and look at it from a distance, because 9 times out of 10, that is probably how you're going to see it. So, kind of testing out your logo, printing it at different sizes, just kind of looking at it, testing it out is super, super important, because that's really what's going to, if you cannot read it at a certain size, that will be applied to, like, for instance, an envelope. For an envelope, it would be needed to be very small. Is it readable, or does it need adjustments? So some things to think about. All right, I wanted to show you a really interesting resource, a website here. Let's share my screen. It is called logobook.com. And it's kind of really interesting because it breaks down very simplified logos here. Discover the world's finest logos, symbols, and trademarks. And you can actually go by shape, letters and numbers, object, nature, and business. So we talked about shapes before. So if you want to look at, for instance, circle logos, and be inspired by certain logos that are out there that are in a circular shape, you can kind of be inspired by these particular logos. All very graphic in nature because it's black and white, but some great examples in here. And you can actually click on these to find out more about this particular logo, who it's for, who the design company is, when it was designed. Pretty interesting. Here's other ones that are angled, have an angled look to them. We also talked about lines, so you can see different lines used within logos. And again, if you click on this, it kind of explains a little bit more in detail here, who did it, who designed it, and what it was for. You have triangle, we talked about that as well. More angular triangle shaped logos. So so definitely a great resource if you are looking for something that, you want to be inspired by. Here's by letters. So say if you have a company coming to you with maybe W in their name, and you're looking at maybe doing something very visually interesting with that, you can be inspired by looking at these type of resources. See what's been done, see what works, and be inspired. Obviously, don't copy it, but be inspired by it. Here's nature too. Remember we were talking about organic shapes. So here's more of organic shapes based on, and it looks like it's breaking it down into particular like flowers and fish, different types of natural items, plants, sun, water, insect. And then business. So if you want to look into a particular industry, say if you have a bank that came to you and they are looking for a logo, you can actually narrow it down here by looking at some bank logos that have been created and see the similarities yet differences between them and how they work. For instance, this one, very organic shape, but it works. It is very sturdy. It looks reliable because it's very stable looking, very balanced. And again, letters and numbers, shape, object. Object would be certain objects in architecture, books and paper, boxes, everyday objects. So you can definitely check that out. So really cool, interesting resource to add to your bookmarks that can add inspiration to your logo process, which is always good to have. The more the merrier. There are also some resources up here that you can go from, look into more so. Here's the top 10 featured design companies listed here that you can actually click on. It takes you right to their actual logo marks, which is kind of interesting, which logo designs that they created. So you have Termeyer and Geismar, which are very Very, very well known. They've done logos for all different types of brands out there that you probably are aware of: PBS, Time Warner, NBC, the Peacock logo. So it's kind of interesting to see the actual firm that designed it. Um, 10 featured, top 10 featured designers. You can actually click on the designer themselves and see what their logo creations are or were. Here's books that you can check out that talk more about logos and branding as well.